Greetings, my fellow freedom lovers and sovereign thinkers. This is LLB's latest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Swampy Mango, South Florida, and today's date is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2019. So, let us begin. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Oh, yeah. Independence Day in this Thursday. And it's funny because a lot of people don't know that on this day, 1776, they have officially seceded from Great Britain, the 13 colonies, as a whole, to create the United States, and everything got signed later on. So, yeah, just one of those times, just kicking back as usual, pretty warm right now at this typical time in South Florida. I'm at Stash, located at 109 Southwest 2nd Avenue in the heart of the Himmershey District in Fort Lauderdale, adjacent with Revolution Live in America's Backyard. Yeah, the owners here are okay in my book. Always been good to me, having to do my show, and always use finesse, so I don't really go, like scream and yell top of my lungs. Don't really need to. I can have my few vulgarity moments, but I always like, if it happens, it's mainly PG-13, so I've been very good about that. Yes, in these times, you have your good and bad. Take your disappointments by stride. And sometimes you got people that talk behind your back. You know, it's just on a business sense, too. Don't want to tell you directly. If you're going to be constructive, constructively criticize somebody, chat with them on the side. Tell them this what's happening, this and that. You don't create a ruckus or a little scene in front of people. And someone says, hey, how come you tell them directly? You get all bent out of shape. It doesn't work like that. You know, or I have my moments. I may be critical behind people's backs as well, but I let them know directly. Well, it's not trying to be vindictive either. And it happens. You know, it's just a shame. The folks out there, if you do this, it can backfire on you when least expected. I'm not wishing anyone ill. But it's been pretty quiet over here this week. So they're getting ready for the big fiesta. A lot of places. And, when you folks celebrate Independence Day, read the Declaration of Independence to everyone you love or share it. It talks about certain natural rights are inalienable. You can expect checkpoints around all over the beach area and all where having the festivities. And I'm not condoning any intoxicated driving while intoxicated or under the influence by any means. However, we all have rights. And I know usually there's a site called fairdui.org. They tell you about those rights. They go by many of the states, and it's good to know these things because technically when you look at it, checkpoints are considered unconstitutional. And it's very distraught when you have a lot of individuals out there. You know, they sometimes they get they get overboard, but others it'd be suspicion. But instead of complaining about it, take action. And it tells you how to stand up for your rights. Like in certain states, like Florida, you don't have to submit your driver's license to them. You don't even have to open up the window from a routine traffic stop. If you're evading the police and all that's a whole different ball game. But it's a regular stop, like these checkpoints, running a red light, allegedly. All these allegations. Just to give you a few. You can just display your license, registration, and proof of insurance without handing it to them. It's all right there on fairdui.org, and they'll give you the statutes. You can hit those links and verify for yourself. themselves because the person who does this site, who's an attorney, he's not making this up. Don't live in fear. Don't go what if, anything like that, or play goody two shoes. I'm not saying condemn the police officers out there that be doing their job and so forth. But remember, they're governmental delegates. And I say that out of respect. And always use finesse. Think of the human element. It's going to be hot in a lot of places, so they're not going to be too happy being out there in the hot sun, sweating, and give a little love at times, all right? But always stand for what's right. Vigilance is great, but use a touch of finesse. Trust me, you'll go a long ways. All right, so enough of the small talk on this area. Oh yeah, now they got like other new laws in the books in Florida. They have this you can't text and drive. So how about a police officer does that? Can you give him a ticket? Think about that, my friends. I have a officer Facebook pen pal, Erickson Harold, brought that up. The Printnik cop. He's on YouTube. Check him out. Good guy. He's the one who wore the guy false mask in Plantation. Was doing a night shift, and he had a little protest with one of the individuals on September 11th, and he got harassed. But one, he got dismissed. Good guy, good man, great woman. He has a great family. You know, shout out to them. Love him. Hey, Erickson, you should run for sheriff. You're a Democrat, right? Imagine you, Sheriff Tony, and Scott Israel in the same debate. Good grief. Yeah, speaking of Scott Israel, he's running for sheriff in 2020. So do you want a federalized sheriff, Broward County? Hi, I'm Scott Israel. I'm a member of Homeland Security. When the feds say bend over, I go, how far, please? And I will blame everyone else for my negligence, my poor overseeing. The decision hasn't been decided yet in the Senate that if they can be reinstated or not. So he's running for sheriff again in 2020. Golly. Yeah. You have a chance, folks. Use the hashtag #NotMySheriff2020 and or Scott Israel is not my sheriff. Or not my Broward Sheriff 2020. I have a hashtag on that as well. Hit those photos. Do your campaigns against him now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying use this out of vindication, but rather principle. There's a lot of people that hated him, that really despise this man in a real hateful manner directly towards him. I just hated what he stood for. Have animosity on his actions. Especially supposed to be the conversator of the peace, the overseer of Broward County. There's a big difference. Yes, at this time I will criticize him. I will sing Scott Israel. I'll shout out Scott Israel is not my sheriff. All out of principle. All right. And that's enough of my little ranting here. Just gotta get that off my chest and a few things. So, like I said, when you do celebrate Independence Day, have the American flag. Make sure it's not made in China. And talk about liberty, self-reliance, personal responsibility, and get rid of the whole government knows best syndrome. That's like a hot plate when you give them all your personal freedoms away. A little trade-off. Go, okay, we'll trust you. And look what happens. They're even putting facial recognitions at the airports. Why is that? You know, Broward County has I talk about the Broward County resolution on my past episode. That should be scrapped. That program should be scrapped from our airports. That's county property. Okay? And they're trying to do it at Stoneman Douglas as well because of the horrific event that happened on Valentine's Day 2018. disturbing as well. You want to make it Orwellian. They want to make an Orwellian nightmare in Florida, in Broward County, which I effing condemn with a passion. It wasn't our freedoms that got us into these positions. Stop thinking that way if you are. Alright. I know I digressed. Sorry about that. Cool. So, speaking of Orwellian, let's just check this out here. I know there was a video on this a while back, but it looks like it's the latest one. It says here, who created Facebook? A new letter from the alleged insider claims Zuckerberg is the frontman for military intelligence. I know I posted this video on it. It's like 28, 30 minutes long. Very interesting claim. But it's what Makia Freeman has to say. I like the photo. Spying on users. Who created Facebook to be the ultimate surveillance tool? Who created Facebook? Many people have wondered about the true origins of the social media giant, which has gone from a Harvard startup to a company which almost most of the users in the world, around 2.338 billion as of the first quarter of 2019. This is an astonishing figure, which is inching its way to a one-third of the entire global population. Are we supposed to believe the geek genius cover story that is used so often to describe the origins of big tech Silicon Valley companies? Or is there something more to the story? Sorry about that. A new letter from alleged former Facebook insider and former lover of Zuckerberg. Ooh. Well, so how he makes love? Shaking hands? All right. A few weeks ago, on June 13, 2019, American intelligence media published a letter which is hand-delivered to a member of an anonymous Patriots conclave. They were able to quickly verify a lot of the information in the letter, which they are calling the Zuckerberg dossier. Although they can't say that everything in the letter is true, they can state with absolute confidence that the source is real. The letter makes many explosive claims. As quoted below, I encourage you to read it for yourself. The main themes are that Zuckerberg did not create Facebook, but was chosen as the front man to make the military surveillance social media network go public. Zuckerberg was involved in CIA mind control programs as a child. Zuckerberg has many military intelligence complex handlers behind him who are controlling him and telling him exactly what to do. Zuckerberg stole code by hacking into email account of the son of Michael McKibben, owner of the Leader Technologies and the real inventor of scalable social media. Michael has emailed his son Max the white papers written to describe his new invention. Zuckerberg is either unable or barely able to write code. So the idea that he wrote innovative and unique code for Facebook is a giant, absurd lie. Here are some of the quotes in the letter. Mark was chosen as a child for a CIA training program because his relatives were some of the people creating the program. I'm not making excuses for Mark, but his choices have not been his own. Yes, he has become an evil sociopath who once believed in his heart of heart that if he decided he wanted to be president, all he had to do say he wanted the job and Facebook would deliver the election to him. There's a level of brainwashing Mark is at. He is not in contact with reality. He became this way through the brainwashing he received in his high school years by a DARPA program called TIA that needed a boy genius to be the front man. This scam will make Mark into a global model of the young, cool, irreverent computer geniuses that rule the world and lead everyone to a cyber god of artificial intelligence. Mark was just an upwitting puppet. Zuckerberg did not write one single line of programming source for Facebook, so his name is Mark Greenberg, allegedly. Those are lies and propaganda generated by his government, military handlers, Everyone knows that the Winklevoss twins, Aaron and Cameron, won a $65 million lawsuit settlement against Mark because they knew that their little Harvard connection piece was just an adjunct code attached to the original stolen source code, which was given to Mark by Professor James Chandler and IBM. My old buddy, Sean Parker, an early member of Facebook, has confessed all to the media and specifically told the truth that Facebook was meant as a cyber drug to create and control addicts and digital addicts. As Sean said, we knew from the beginning it was harming every user, and that is why we never let our friends or our children use these systems. It harms them tremendously and was the original intent of the media. Mark and I were told by representatives of DARPA that was the intent of Facebook from its inception. Interesting there. I'll continue on. Former executive Sean Parker had previously confessed that Facebook exploited human psychology. Sean Parker is a former Facebook executive who publicly admitted that when Facebook was designed, exploiting loopholes in human psychology was the goal. Specifically, he mentioned they built in giving people a dopamine hit every now and again to get them addicted, as well as playing off the people's insecurity and need for the social validation, he said. Is one of the quotes, some of the quotes here. I think it's like 4 here. I don't know if I really understood the consequences of what I was saying, because of the unintended consequences of a network when it grows to 1 billion or 2 billion people, and it literally changes the relationship of society with each other. It probably interferes with productivity in weird ways. God only knows what it is doing to our children's brain. The thought process that went into building these applications, Facebook being the first of them, was all about how do we consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. And that means we need to sort of give you a little dopamine hit every once in a while because someone liked or commented on a photo or a post or whatever. And that's going to get you to contribute more content, and that's going to get you more likes and comments. The social validation. Social validation loop. Feedback loop. Exactly the kind of thing that the hacker like myself come with because you're exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. The inventors, creators, it's me. It's Mark Zuckerberg. It's Kevin Systrom on Instagram. It's all of these people. Understood this consciously, and we did it anyway. Yeah, so you got a photo right here. Pentagon kills lifelong project. Yep, so it's interesting there about Facebook. So we gotta just keep going here. And of course, there's a little photo here about the Pentagon had lifelog software that tracked every person's every move, and it's interesting because it happened according to Pentagon kills lifelong project. It happened on the same date when Facebook was founded, according to this. So who created Facebook? Remember LifeLog? As I covered in the previous article, Hollywood, MSM, and Silicon, all strings pulled by the same master. Facebook just coincidentally happened to have a creation date, February 4th, 2004, identical to when Pentagon discontinued its LifeLog project. LifeLog was a surveillance operation dreamt up by the ultra-sinister DARPA, or Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. Facebook is the ultimate tool for self-surveillance whereby a person will willingly give up their data and privacy without realizing what they are doing. Final thoughts, who created Facebook? Same answer as who created Google, YouTube, and the rest of Silicon Valley. It remains to be seen whether the information in this letter or Zuckerberg's dossier will be verified. In answering the riddle who created Facebook, we certainly need to recognize that whether it's Google, Alphabet, YouTube, or Facebook, these big tech behemoths spun off for military projects and military seed funding right from the start, like Amazon with this giant $600 billion CIA contract. Big tech is joined up at the hip of the MIC and does its bidding. Big tech is now critical and indispensable cog in the U.S. national security apparatus. It is unprecedented and privacy-destroying surveillance, but you get free email accounts and emoticon posting capabilities, so as Mark himself would say, it's all cool, right? So, it's interesting there. You gotta give Makia, credit on this. But one of the areas, and there's plenty of sources you can look at as well on here. Well, one interesting thing about it, my friends, is just I'm not too surprised about Facebook. So this is how I see things. Observe, pay attention, and all that good stuff. Is one of the reasons you have to always look at everything into a bigger picture. These particular social media sites, I enjoy using the enemy's tools. I have no shame of it. Because I know how these people think. And just one of those days, my friends. You have to, and always, be smarter than them. I know many of my friends out there they hate these social media sites, which I understand. But they love what I'm doing because I'm utilizing it. The fact is, I don't need them. They need us. So that's a good thing. Use the enemy's tools. That's key, my friends. Because if you make it all too personal, it's going to bite you in the rear end. Alright, cool. So I will be right back. So stay tuned. Alright, cool. We're going to go a little bit more pertaining to technology. This one came from Bob Livingston Alerts. Technological Dependence in the End of Freedom by Brandon Smith. Technology can be dazzling, but also debilitating to real human progress. And when I say progress, I don't mean advancements in the world of machines, but advancements in the world of people. And one does not necessarily lead to the other. First, I fully recognize that whenever anyone attempts to criticize technological innovation, they take the risk of being labeled a crackpot or an outdated fossil, a barbaric relic of a foregone era. However, this attitude is an ignorant one. It assumes that the path we are on as species is one of the perpetual improvement as long as we continue to follow the great technology God. But what if this assumption is completely wrong? What if we are actually devolving rather than evolving? I'm not here to grunt and shake my spear at the wheel and the combustion engine and the programmable computer. I like all these things, but what I don't like is the dark future I see when humanity turns machinery into a great metal polymer and digital nursemaid, and we lose our ability to take care of ourselves. Dependency is the cornerstone of slavery, and our civilization is becoming increasingly dependent. In my time on this earth, I've had the privilege and suffered the pain of watching the digital age come to fruition. I witnessed the creation of the home computer, the birth of the internet, the proliferation of cellular technology, and now the spread of artificial intelligence and 5G. I have also seen the decay of an entire generation of millennials into uselessness and despondency, lacking any practical skills of production or survival and completely reliant on digital technology for everything, including building up illusions of friendship and intimacy. I have witnessed the pacification of America. The counter-arguments against this will vary. Some will say that our society has simply become more convenient and more comfortable, and this is a good thing. Other will claim skeptics and like myself are afraid of the social changes that come with globalization that the digital age brings. Still, others will maintain that centralization and dependency are natural extensions of man's evolution. That is inevitable, and we should embrace it. These are the classic arguments of the futurists, a subculture of ideological zealots who believe that all old ideas and ways of living must be treated as obsolete and thrown out to make way for all new ideas and ways of living. The notion is that all new ideas are an automatic improvement, that each new generation is superior to the one before and is supposedly access to more knowledge and thus it wiser. But knowledge is not the same as wisdom and is often misused to achieve rather barbaric and vulgar goals. But the futurists will never admit that there are very few new ideas in the world, only old ideas rehashed and recycled and repainted to look different. In the grand scheme of history, freedom is an idea is very old, but its social application on a grand scale is something entirely new. Centralization, whether by brute force, manipulation, or technological entrapment, is hardly a revolutionary concept. It is the oldest of philosophies. The trend today indicates a path to swift centralization, and according to the evidence, that is not a natural progression, but the consequence of a deliberate agenda by elitist groups that wish to remain in power. The advent of many technologies today is not necessarily the problem. It is how the technologies are being applied in our society that is infantilizing the masses. Let's discuss some specific examples. Communication overload. Cell technology and the internet have changed the world. With a web-connected computer in your pocket, you'll always be able to communicate with others. You will rarely get lost, and you can even record video of everywhere you go and everything you do. Instant memories. Who knows how much time this technology has added to a person's day or how many lives it has saved. Let's consider the darker side. The first attention span of Western nations have shortened to less than that of a gold attention span of the Western nations have shortened to less than that of a goldfish since 2002, right around the time that the cell phone internet use began to explode. According to overall research, the average person now spends up to 4 hours a day just looking at their cell phone, and combined with the daily social media used at home and at work, I expect this number increases dramatically. In fact, adults spend approximately 11 hours per day interacting with various media. That's most of their walking life being distracted by minutia. The parts of the world have instant access to this technology that are being zombified, and they don't seem to realize it. Oversaturation of information and instant gratification trigger an oxytocin and dopamine response in the human brain similar to the response we get when we socialize normally. But there's evidence to suggest that the strength of human interaction has a lot to do with the level of pleasure we receive through a dopamine response. Social media interactions are poor proxy for real relationships. So social media creates a near constant flow of dopamine, but also weaker and less significant. This has led to a form of addiction perhaps more invasive than any chemical drug in existence. Interaction with other human beings without social media or instant gratification has become unthinkable, but the real world does not function on such a short timetable. And so people have begun to discard me then when forced to do remedial tasks, refusing to experience the pauses or quiet moments in life, refusing to ponder experiences and explore deeper meanings behind the events they read about briefly each day in their news feeds, all the information at their fingertips, but they have no clue how to absorb it or apply it critically. That is true, believe it or not, folks. And that's not good. You these little gadgets, for example, like social media sites, you want to enhance, comprehend. You got to look at it as cue cards, but not just like look and okay, whatever, and it blows out of your mind. And that's not good either. So you always got to have that balance factor. Let's just keep on going. What he has to say here: inviting the watchers into your home. People do a lot of stupid things in the name of convenience, including opening their homes to surveillance and tyranny under the guise of easy living. While a cell phone is essentially a listening device, video surveillance device, and tracking device in your pocket that governments and corporations can exploit anytime they wish. The problem does not stop there. The future of technology is fully interconnected homes in which everything is digital and everything is linked to the Internet of Things. And I am not fond of that either, folks. We have seen some of this exposed recently with controversy over Amazon's Alexa tech, which is essentially a large and sensitive listening device which people pay for with their own money and voluntarily place in the middle of their homes. Amazon has been caught on multiple occasions collecting vast information and data from their Alexa network, including recordings of customer conversations which the government then has access to. This is a less subtle example. Consider having all your home appliances linked to the web and what this would mean. Government surveillance of daily electrical usage, which means that they will know when you're home and what you're doing at all times. This might not seem like a big deal if you think you have nothing to hide. But in a world where carbon Nazis are attempting to dictate every aspect of our lives, your electrical usage might become a legal issue one day. Not to mention, if every single device in your home is voice activated for convenience, then this means they could also be used to listen to your every private word. Privacy is the foundation of freedom. All tyranny relies first on the invasion of privacy and the removal of private spaces. The Fourth Amendment exists for a very good reason. The argument, if you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear, is a very foolish one. Governments are commonly made up of fallible people who are often corrupt, but frankly, no one has the objectivity and wisdom necessary to oversee the private actions and conversations of millions of citizens, then judge them fairly. Politicians and bureaucrats are the least qualified, and yet we give them the most power to oversee our lives, all in the name of technological convenience. Yeah, that is true. I'm not crazy of things like Alexa anyway. It's funny about cell phones. I got this thing called a Blocket Pocket, which is created by it's a family-run business out of Maine, blocketpocket.com. And I gotta give it credit because I used this on an Uber one time, especially on GPS. They have a video that demonstrates how when your phone rings, electrosmog absorbs in the Blocket Pocket, so it's not as effective when you don't have it. And plus, the GPS, when you close it up, it blocks. It is a tracking blocker, blocks track blocker. And I used that on the GPS one time on Uber. So when I took it out, it resets everything. So cool thing about it, because they said it was your money. You have a money back guarantee. So I had nothing to lose. And I got one for a friend of mine and for my mom and stepfather on their anniversary, and they love it. And I gave them the cards and all that, the information to look at it, and they're very pleased. So it's always good to have these guys. Remember, every high-tech goodie has a flaw. Now let's continue on here. Artificial intelligence and automation. When it comes to technology, the mass surveillance is the subject most discussed. But there's a problem that concerns me even more. Automation. There are plenty of manual tasks in this world that probably should be handled through the industry and robotics. But some things should be required learning for every person. For example, do we really want to complete automation of food production in our society? Well, that's the goal of corporations. It could destroy our ability to provide our own necessity in the future simply by removing knowledge from our social memory. The ability to grow food and harvest food, as well as collecting seeds for future harvest, is integral to human survival. The concept of hunting and gathering is so far removed from the average person's daily life that is almost a lost art form. But we also lost all knowledge of food production, but we have not lost all knowledge of food production yet. What I see is a bleak future if the current path of technological centralization continues. Imagine a world in which nearly everyone is hyperconnected to media to the point that they wear their devices like clothing at all times. Imagine a society where the average person is so enveloped by data that they no longer pay attention to the changeable world around them, and almost all human interactions are achieved through the middleman of the internet. Imagine people so infantilized by convenience that are no longer know how to anything for themselves. They no longer how to produce goods. They no longer how to fix anything that is broken. They no longer know how to grow food or find water, nor they even know where it comes from. They are completely dependent. They live completely on the grid. They are born on the grid. If you were to pluck them from their life of convenient slavery and place them in the middle of the woods surrounded by food, water, and potential shelter, they will still die. Now realize that this is basically reality today for many people, and that this virus of dependency is spreading. Technological advancement serves no purpose to humanity except as a crutch or a cage unless it is tempered by the conversation of ancient knowledge and skills passed down through generations. The two ideologies but balance each other out. Those who say otherwise are trying to con you into trading your freedom for a fantasy. He's right. This is good. It's always good to know these things. Urban farming and going out with nature. Hit the campsites. Learn these traits. Even right now on the internet, they got these areas on survival skills, and that is essential. That's why you want to use it to enhance humanity rather than be enslaved. Always beware of that double-edged sword. But the willing snowflakes and saps that bow down to their masters or mistresses want the other way. They want you to be numbered. Train coming by here. They don't want to have you be a free, loving, natural-born, free human being. Absolutely. That's what they don't want. They don't want you to believe. This is why we have government talk about we gotta do this, this, and this, and vote for me, I'll set you free. No, vote for me, you won't be free. It's like, yeah. I'm not even crazy about Alexa. And Facebook, I'm on there once in a while. See, those social media sites, they're wants, not needs, friends. You have to have balance. Go out. Sometimes don't take care of your cell phone. I've done it. I have to get a watch once in a while, but I'm pretty good at tracking time. But one of the areas you got to look at, human nature, is vital. We got to know these things. All right, have like 10 acres of land. I can grow my own food and be off the grid and have everything provided for me without being on the grid. That would be all. That's awesome. That's what I'm doing right now, little by little. I think it's great, and you can do it too. They don't want that. They want all these big companies like Florida Power to lie to us how to think and how to wipe our butts. They don't want to have us be off. They don't want us to be completely free from them when we utilize solar power energy. They want the piece of the pie. Well, you know what? My heart bleeds for them. Because the truth of the matter is, folks, these rights, natural born rights, are inalienable. Don't take it the other way. Without us, they're nothing. Period. All right, one more here, and it came from Consortium News. This is interesting about politics, Italy politics and women. What Italy can learn from its women's soccer team. Where male-dominated soccer, politics, and the economy thrive in the cult of individualism. The women work in solidarity with each other like workers of days gone by, says Attilio Moro. And as it reads here, he was in Brussels and he wrote this. Having lost models of alternative values and the ways of life to the religion of neoliberalism. These days, many of the Italian left were content watching the matches of Italy's national team in the Women's Soccer World Cup. The team won almost every match while the national government is losing almost all of theirs. Zero growth, rampant crime, dirty cities, huge public debt, high unemployment, brain drain, widespread corruption, even in the judiciary, as recently turned out. While the female footballers were united in their performance, the central government is divided and ineffective. The former display loyalty to each other, while every day the leaders of the two parties allied in the government stab each other in the back. It's like the ancient Roman days, right? Feeling ostracized by his European partners, Matteo Salvini, the de facto Prime Minister of Italy, has turned to Washington to seek Donald Trump's protection, odd for a sovereignist, just as the Brexiters are doing. Meanwhile, the Italian soccer club met their adversaries with dignity. Their male colleagues, the team of Azzurri, are among the best paid soccer players of the world, as Italian politicians are. Both perform badly. The Italian male soccer team has not won anything in years, and the most popular and long-lived post-war politician has been media magnate Silvio Berlusconi. The women perform for their nation for very little money. Their salary does not exceed 50,000 euros per year, everything included. Where male-dominated players, politics and the economy thrive in the cult of individualism. The women work in solidarity with each other, like workers of days gone by. The women don't usually pretend to be seriously hurt, as their male colleagues do. Every time they fall, they don't play the victim. They know what they want, to win, but not at all costs. Every time they did, until they were eliminated in the quarterfinals by the Netherlands on Saturday, they burst out in joy and hardly believed it. This is sport as it ought to be. As it may have been, it became big business, human beings aware of doing something extraordinary and being proud of it. Other female national teams taking part in the cup behave the same, with ability, technique, and grace. With no hubris and blind aggression from too much money, the women's team enchanted Italy and the world. Maybe it won't last. Sooner or later, money could flood women's soccer and change its philosophy and values. It would be sad. Italians would lose one of the few popular models that give them hope. But for now, in this critical period of its recent history, the women of soccer squad are a precious asset and the model for the country. And they did it. They had a real good They had a real good tournament. I gotta give them that. I've been watching some of the women's soccer games, and very entertaining, I have to say. You know, it was a token of appreciation when it comes to sports. And of course, you know, let's work as a team. Who cares about the superstar stats? I don't mean a damn thing in my book. It was funny because I remember the time when, in the year 2003, you know, the Florida Marlins were playoff contenders. And I was like watching them since like the year, you know, even when they they cleaned everything out. A lot of people got disgusted. However, they weren't a boring team to watch. And some of those players losing every game. Like, lost a lot of the game, but in due time. They just little restructure, and they beat the New York Yankees. 2003. They had mostly young players. Josh Beckett, Juan Pierre. I could just go on. And a few older folks. The oldest one, one of the old ones. They had like Pudge Rodriguez, and I'm not saying old folks, you know, but older gentlemen, Craig Counsell. They had a couple of others. They got inspired by these young talents, and they won the World Series in Game 6 at Yankee Stadium. And like I told people during that time, they weren't a boring team to watch. And what's fantastic about it, the New York Yankees players' salary during that time was three times more than the Florida Marlins. Like $180 million, that was their players' payroll, and the Marlins have $60 million. Character counts, my friends. I'm not going to knock the New York Yankees. Hey, one thing about sports is entertainment as well. Because they can spend that much. Think about how much they're making, the organization itself. But the whole thing is this. Sticking together, unified, gets you places too. Too many I and team. A lot of folks live the I and team. And in due time, they always stumble. They screw themselves. They all think they're celebrities, including the politicians. Nothing new at all. Remember, ever heard about Donald Trump, the laughing stock of the world? If you believe that, you haven't been paying attention. Look what happened to Italy. The pretty fine example. In Italy, the beautiful people there, need to stand up and rise against the Italian government and give the big middle finger. You need us more than we need you, you peasants. High-paid peasants. That's what they really are. Due time, the people will rise up again. They may hang them like stuffed pigs if they did to Mussolini. If so, be it. Let it be. And that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. Furthermore, I'll leave all my footnotes, including my social media sites, email addresses, on my Spreaker page. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may the guardian spirits be with you.